The first time she tried to make me quit, she knocked a glass of water straight out of my hand and watched it shatter across the floor like she was waiting for me to shatter too. I did not even flinch. I just grabbed a towel and knelt down to clean it up while she stared at me with those cold, sharp eyes like I was already halfway out the door. 3 days earlier, I had lost everything. My boss called me into his office on a freezing Monday morning in Chicago. He would not look me in the eye when he told me they were cutting staff. Budget issues, nothing personal. I had been climbing poles and fixing wiring for 3 years, working in wind that felt like knives on my face, and in 5 minutes, it was over. He handed me my last check and shook my hand like we were strangers. That night, I called my grandmother. She sounded tired but still asked if I was eating enough. She had just come back from another doctor visit. More insulin, more pills, more money she did not have. I told her I would send cash next week like always. I did not tell her I had no job. I did not tell her I had rent due in 6 days and less than $500 in my account. My little sister texted me before midnight. She needed money for nursing school books. I stared at the screen for a long time before I typed back, "I got you." I had no idea how. I applied everywhere that week. Construction, repair, warehouse work. Most places never called back. Then one afternoon, my phone rang with a number I did not know. A woman said she worked for a private staffing agency. She had a full-time live-in care job for a private client outside the city. The pay was almost triple what I used to make, housing and meals included. I asked what was wrong with the job. She paused before she said the client was difficult and other assistants had not lasted. She did not explain more. She asked if I could start the next day. I said yes before I could think about it. The house was almost an hour outside Chicago, past the busy streets and into quiet roads lined with old trees. A tall iron gate opened after a camera scanned my car. The driveway curved through a yard so big it looked like a park. The house at the end was made of stone and glass, huge and silent. A man in a vest met me at the door. He handed me a tablet with a contract already open. I signed it with my finger. He showed me around quickly. A giant kitchen, a room full of therapy equipment. My bedroom was small but clean. Then he left. The house felt empty in a way that made my chest tight. I followed the hallway toward the east side like he told me. That was where she was. She sat near a wall of tall windows, a notebook in her lap. Outside, the winter garden looked gray and frozen. She looked younger than I expected, early 30s maybe. Her hair was pulled back tight, and when she looked up at me, her eyes were sharp and tired at the same time. "Another one," she said quietly, like she was talking to herself. Then louder, "You must be the new hire. What is your name?" "Marcus Hayes," I said. I stayed near the door. "I can start whenever you are ready." She gave a short laugh with no warmth in it. "Most people do not make it a full day here. No one has lasted a week living with me." Her voice was calm, but I could hear the challenge in it. She wanted me to ask questions or make a joke or look nervous. I did not. "I'm here to work," I said. "What do you need?" She studied my face for a long moment. Then she pointed to a glass of water on the table beside her chair. "Bring me that." I walked over and picked it up carefully. When I held it out, she slapped it from my hand. Water splashed across the rug and onto my boots. "Clean it up," she said. So I did. That was how my first day went. Nothing was ever right. The sandwich I made had the wrong bread. The plate was too cold. I pushed her wheelchair at the wrong angle. During therapy, she told me I did not know what I was doing. She said I would leave like everyone else. By evening, she knocked her pill organizer onto the floor. Tiny tablets rolled under chairs and across the hardwood. I got on my hands and knees and picked up every single one. "You are too slow," she said. "You will not last." I stood up and met her eyes for the first time. "If you want me gone, you can dismiss me," I said calmly. "Otherwise, I'm not leaving." For a second, something changed in her expression. Not anger, not coldness. Surprise. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm, my body tense like I was heading into a fight instead of a job. I dressed fast and went straight to the kitchen to check the schedule the house manager had left on the counter. Every hour of her day was planned. Meals, medication, therapy, rest. No room for mistakes. I made her coffee exactly how the instructions said. Specific beans, exact measurements, temperature checked with a thermometer. I carried it down the quiet hallway and knocked softly before entering. She was already awake, sitting up in bed with her tablet in her lap. Her hair was still pulled back tight, not a strand out of place. She took the cup without looking at me and sipped it once. "Too weak," she said, setting it down. "Make it again." I took the cup back without arguing. In the kitchen, I added more grounds and started over. When I brought the second cup, she tasted it and gave one small nod. "No thank you." Just approval. That became our routine. Every task was a test. If breakfast was hot, it was too hot. If I gave her space, I was not paying attention. If I stood too close, I was hovering. She always found something wrong, and I fixed it without saying much. Physical therapy was the hardest part of the day. I helped her transfer from the wheelchair to the padded bench in the rehab room. Her arms were strong, but they shook when she pushed herself. "You are holding me wrong," she snapped one morning. "Do you even know what you are doing?" I adjusted my grip like the note said and kept my voice calm. "Tell me what feels better." She glared at me but shifted slightly. We worked through the exercises in silence after that, the only sound her breathing and the soft squeak of the equipment. Little by little, I started noticing things she thought I did not see. The framed photo in her drawer of her standing beside a man in a suit, both smiling like the world belonged to them. The way she turned it face down when she noticed me glance at it. The phone calls that always ended the same way. "No, I do not want visitors. I am fine. I will call if I need anything." Then she would stare at the wall for a long time after hanging up. One afternoon, I heard her voice from the hallway, softer than usual. "I don't want them seeing me like this," she said, "because they will look at me the way he did." I waited a minute before going in with her medication. She had already put her mask back on, calm and distant. That night, after she went to bed, I looked her up on my phone. Victoria Caldwell, tech founder, billionaire, articles about awards, speeches, magazine covers. Then 3 years ago, everything stopped. Ski accident in Switzerland, spinal cord injury, never walk again. There was one article that mentioned her fiancé. After the accident, his name slowly disappeared from the stories. I understood more after that. This was not just a rich woman being cruel. This was someone who lost her life in 1 second and decided it hurt less to push people away first. On the 5th night, the emergency alarm rang from her room. I ran without thinking. She was sitting up in bed, gripping the headboard, her face pale and covered in sweat. "Marcus," she gasped, "the pain." I grabbed her medication, helped her take it, and sat beside her while the waves of nerve pain hit. Her whole body trembled. She tried not to cry out, but sometimes a broken sound slipped through. I kept one hand on her shoulder, light but steady. I did not talk. I just stayed. At one point, she grabbed my wrist, holding tight like she was afraid of floating away. "Why do you not leave?" she whispered between breaths. "Everyone else did." "Because I know what it feels like when people walk away," I said, "and I don't want you going through that alone." She looked at me like she was trying to see if I meant it. Then another wave hit, and she squeezed her eyes shut. Almost an hour later, the pain finally eased. Her body went limp against the pillows, exhausted. "Stay," she murmured, already half asleep. I stayed until her breathing evened out. After that night, things shifted. She still corrected me, still had sharp days, but the edge was duller. She started saying my name more, not like an order, like it belonged in the room. During therapy, she pushed herself harder. One afternoon, after struggling through a set of exercises, she dropped the weights and stared at the floor. "Why are you still here, Marcus?" she asked quietly. "You could find an easier job." I crouched down so we were eye level. "Because I said I would stay," I told her. She held my gaze for a long time. Something in her eyes softened just a little. That evening, at dinner, instead of wheeling away right after eating, she stayed at the table. "It happened on a ski slope," she said suddenly. "No warning.
One second I was racing down the mountain, the next I woke up in a hospital and they told me my legs would never work again. Her voice was steady, but her hands were tight in her lap. He stayed for a while, she continued. Then he said it was too hard to watch me like this. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. I get it. Not the same way, but I know what it feels like when someone decides you're too much to deal with. She looked at me, really looked at me. Tell me, she said. So I told her about my dad leaving, about my grandmother raising us, about pretending to be strong because everyone else needed me to be. For the first time, she did not interrupt. She just listened. When she finally wheeled towards her room, she paused at the door. "Thank you, Marcus," she said softly. It was the first time she had ever thanked me, and the way she said my name made my chest feel tight in a way that had nothing to do with stress.
By the second week, the house did not feel as cold. Victoria still had her sharp moments, but they came less often now. She started asking instead of ordering. "Could you help me with the window?" instead of "move me." It was a small change, but I felt it every time. One morning, I walked into the therapy room and stopped in the doorway. She was already there between the parallel bars, her hands gripping them tight. Her legs were strapped in braces, her body shaking as she tried to lift herself. I almost rushed forward, but I held back. She pulled, her arms straining, teeth clenched. Slowly, inch by inch, she raised herself until she was almost standing. Not straight, not steady, but upright. She held it for a few seconds before lowering herself back into the chair. When she looked up at me, tears were running down her face, but she was smiling. "I did it," she said. "I stood." "You did," I said, my voice rough. From that day on, it became part of our routine. Every morning before regular therapy, she tried again. 5 seconds turned into 10. 10 turned into 20. Her arms grew stronger. So did her belief that maybe the doctors had not written the final chapter yet. She also started talking more about her company, about the nights she slept in her office when she was building it from nothing, about how alive she used to feel solving problems no one else could. "I miss feeling useful," she said one afternoon while we rested, "like I mattered." "You still matter," I said, "maybe just in a different way now." She looked thoughtful after that. Around the same time, my phone rang late one night. It was my sister. Her voice was shaking. "Grandma's in the hospital, Marcus." My heart dropped into my stomach. Her blood sugar crashed. They stabilized her, but the doctor says she needs a new medication. Insurance will not cover it. "How much?" I asked, already afraid. $2,000 a month. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall after we hung up. Even with this job, that number felt impossible. There was a soft knock on my door. Victoria sat outside in her wheelchair, her face calm but watchful. "I heard you on the phone," she said. "Is your family okay?" I hesitated, then told her the truth, about my grandmother, about the cost. She listened without interrupting. "Come to my office tomorrow morning," she said when I finished. Her office was different from the rest of the house. Papers, screens, notes everywhere. It felt alive, like the part of her that had been sleeping was waking up. "I made some calls last night," she said. "I can get your grandmother's medication at cost, $200 a month instead of $2,000. I just stared at her. "I cannot let you do that," I said finally. "You have done more for me than you realize, Marcus," she replied. "Let me help." "Thank you" felt too small, but it was all I had. Then she turned one of her monitors toward me. A full business plan filled the screen. "I am starting a foundation," she said. "Grants for people with disabilities, funding for equipment, training, and support. I have the money. What I need is someone I trust to build it with me." She met my eyes. "I want you as my partner." "Me?" I said. "I fix wiring for a living." "You know what it means to struggle," she said, "and you do not walk away when things get hard. That matters more than a degree." I looked at the plan, at the chance to help people like her, like my grandmother. "I'm in," I said. Her smile then was different from any I had seen before, bright, hopeful.
Therapy went better that afternoon than ever. She stood for almost a full minute. When she sat back down, she was laughing through tears. "Soon I will take steps," she said. "I believe you," I told her. That night at dinner, she asked a question that made my heart pound. "Your contract ends next week," she said. "If I stopped paying you, would you still stay?" I thought about the first day, the spilled water, the pills on the floor, the pain in the middle of the night. "I came here for the money," I said, honestly. "My family needed it." She nodded slowly. "But that's not why I'm still here," I continued. "I'm here because I want to be, because you matter to me." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I don't love you because you helped me," she said quietly. "I love you because you stayed, because you see me, not just the chair." My chest felt tight, like I could barely breathe. "I love you too," I said. We sat there holding hands in the quiet dining room, and for the first time since I lost my job, the future did not feel like a dark hallway. It felt like a door opening.
The weeks after that felt like a different life. The house that once felt like a museum slowly turned into a place where people actually lived. Laughter started showing up in small moments. During breakfast, when I burned the toast and she teased me about it. During therapy, when she beat her previous standing time and gave me a look like she had just won a championship. The foundation plans moved fast. Every morning after therapy, we worked in her office. She handled the business side, calling old contacts, setting up meetings, talking through budgets. I handled everything else: emails, schedules, research, anything she needed. We sat side by side at her desk, our shoulders sometimes brushing, both of us focused on building something bigger than either of us. The first time we met with a group of disability advocates, I saw the old Victoria fully come back. Her voice was strong and steady as she explained the mission. She talked about access, dignity, and giving people tools instead of pity. Everyone in that room listened like she was the only person who mattered. After they left, she wheeled over to me, eyes bright. "We are really doing this," she said. "Yeah, we are," I told her. "Partners." She smiled at that word every time. At the same time, her progress in therapy kept surprising both of us. One morning, she stood at the parallel bars for almost 2 full minutes. Her arms shook, sweat on her forehead, but she refused to quit. Then one afternoon, something happened that made my heart stop. I was organizing equipment when I heard a different sound behind me, a soft, dragging step. I turned. She was still holding the bars, but one foot had moved forward, just a few inches, but it had moved. "Did you see that?" she whispered, like she was afraid the moment would disappear if she spoke too loud. "I saw," I said, my voice thick. "You just took a step." She laughed and cried at the same time, and I did not even try to hide the tears in my own eyes. That night we sat on the terrace, wrapped in blankets, the cold air sharp, but the sky full of stars. Her hand rested in mine like it had always belonged there. "I used to think my life ended on that mountain," she said quietly, like everything good was behind me. "And now?" I asked. "Now I think maybe it just changed direction," she said, looking at me. Around that time, my grandmother started doing better. The new medication was working. My sister called me one evening, her voice lighter than I had heard in years. "She keeps asking about the woman you work for," she said. "Says she wants to meet the one who helped her stubborn grandson smile again." I told Victoria later that night. She looked surprised, then shy. "I would like to meet her," she said. "You will love her," I told her. "She is the strongest person I know." "I think I already know where you learned to stay," Victoria replied. A month after we said, "I love you," the foundation officially launched its first projects. We helped a veteran get adaptive equipment for his car. A single mom got a wheelchair ramp installed at her house. A teenager received a specialized computer so she could keep up in school. Victoria insisted on meeting each person. She listened to their stories with tears in her eyes, not out of sadness but understanding. She knew exactly what it felt like to have your world change in a second.
One afternoon after the last meeting ended, she asked me to take her to the therapy room. I thought we were done for the day, I said. One more thing, she replied with a small smile. She positioned herself between the bars and pulled herself up. Her arms were stronger now, her movements more controlled. Then, slowly, she moved one foot forward, then the other. 5 slow, dragging steps. I stayed close but did not touch her. When she finally sat back down, she was breathing hard, tears running freely. "I walked," she said, almost laughing through the tears. "You did," I said. "You really did." She reached for my hand, and I took it, kneeling in front of her. "You stayed," she said softly, "when I tried to push you away, when I was angry, when I was scared." "I stayed," I agreed. That was when I understood something simple and powerful. I did not save her. She did not save me. We chose each other every day, even when it was hard. Losing my job felt like the worst thing that ever happened to me. But if it hadn't happened, I never would have driven through those iron gates. I never would have met the woman who taught me that strength isn't just standing on your own. Sometimes it's letting someone stand beside you. Now, when she looks at me, I don't see the woman who tried to make me quit on the first day. I see the woman who built a company from nothing, who's building a foundation to help thousands, who's learning to walk again one painful step at a time. And she sees me not as the guy she hired to help her, but as the man who chose to stay. She once told me no one lasts a week living with her. It's been over a year now, and I'm not going anywhere.